Arshak Karhanyan was a police officer and IT expert who worked for the cybercrime division of the Buenos Aires police in Argentina. On Sunday, February 24th, 2019, between 12:46 p.m. and 1:23 p.m., a fellow police officer and friend, Lionel Herba, visited him outside his apartment building on Directorio Street, just hours before he went missing. Security camera footage from the area shows the two talking. Herba showed him something on his phone and made him listen to some audio. The building's security cameras showed that Arshak seemed nervous during this interaction, based on the way he moved. After Herba left, Arshak returned to his apartment, but immediately left again, without his 2 cell phones, his motorcycle, or his other belongings. However, he took his service weapon, even though he was on a 5-day break. He went to a nearby ATM at the Primera Junta station on the A subway line, withdrew 2,000 pesos, and walked 3 blocks to the Easy Store at Rivadavia and Paysandú to buy a shovel. These moments were captured by surveillance cameras and are the last recorded images of him. At the time of his disappearance, Arshak was 27 years old. Originally from Armenia, he arrived in Argentina with his family in the 90s when he was 6 years old and lived alone in the Caballito neighborhood. His mother said, "She sent him a message that morning about making ravioli for dinner, but he never replied. The last communication she received from him was brief and cryptic. 'We'll talk tomorrow. I can't talk now because I'm sleeping.'" When Arshak stopped responding to calls and messages, his family grew worried. His mother and brother went to his apartment, finding his motorcycle parked outside and his belongings untouched. It was as if he had vanished into thin air. They reported him missing to the police, but police initially dismissed their concerns, suggesting that Arshak had left voluntarily. His family strongly disagreed. That didn't add up. He was a responsible person who would never abandon his duties or his family, his mother said. She added that Arshak used to call her every day, but now she heard nothing from him. Friends of the family traced Arshak's transit card and discovered that he had taken a bus heading toward Ezeiza, but there was no confirmation of him arriving there. At this point, any remaining hope that he had left voluntarily began to fade. The most alarming aspect of the case was the lack of cooperation from the authorities. Requests for security camera footage from the area near Ezeiza were met with claims that the recordings had been lost due to technical issues. Furthermore, the analysis of Arshak's cell phones and laptops was deemed unreliable, as experts found signs of deliberate data corruption. After his disappearance, Arshak's brother, Tigran Karhanyan, provided his cell phones to the police for examination, hoping investigators could access his recent conversations and activities. Strangely, during this process, the Buenos Aires City Police made an error, and the data was deleted. Later, some records were recovered, but from dates much earlier than February 24th, 2019. When the family requested additional security footage from the city's monitoring system, they encountered significant resistance. It wasn't until 7 months later, after repeated requests, that the family gained access to security footage. They reviewed videos from a 500-meter radius around Arshak's house, the supermarket, and Herba's house, the last person to have contact with Arshak. Despite these efforts, there was a major setback. The footage had not been preserved. The Missing Persons Unit, for reasons never explained, failed to act in time. By the time access was granted, the recordings had been automatically deleted, as these cameras only retain footage for 4 to 6 months. Allegedly, it wasn't just technical failures. A whistleblower later revealed that some of the recordings had been tampered with, and others had been outright deleted. From the outset, the family believed that the main theory behind the disappearance was linked to the meeting with Officer Lionel Herba just hours before Arshak disappeared. Herba testified in the investigation, initially denying that he had spoken with Arshak that day. However, when confronted with video evidence, he claimed they had discussed buying a car. When his phone was checked, all the conversations were erased. The family also pointed out that Herba's significant increase in wealth should be investigated, as he had purchased a Yamaha motorcycle worth $23,000 and was planning to buy a BMW or a Volkswagen Amarok truck. Despite a potential link between the disappearance and Herba's activities in the Buenos Aires City Police, the prosecutor's office and the judge relied on the police force to investigate the case. Audio recordings later surfaced where Herba's partner, Soto, accused him of involvement in disappearing people. In the audio, she told him, "And you, they're looking for you for making people disappear. I won't cover for you anymore." She was called to testify. She downplayed everything, claiming she was very upset and tends to say such things in anger, but that she had nothing to contribute to the investigation and that what she said wasn't true. Herba's colleagues also reportedly found notes left around the station that read, "Leo, return him, and stop making people disappear." However, when the family demanded further investigation into these claims, the case was inexplicably transferred to a different judge, who dismissed them as inconclusive. Arshak's former colleagues mentioned that he had conflicts with some of his superiors in the police force. One specific incident involved a recording linked to a high-profile case. Arshak's supervisor allegedly asked him to alter the footage, but he refused, saying, "I cannot do that. It's against my principles." This refusal reportedly marked the beginning of his troubles within the department. His workload increased, and he was transferred multiple times. His final transfer was to Police Station 7B, where he discovered further practices he strongly disagreed with. According to his colleagues, Arshak expressed concerns about irregular practices at the station, particularly regarding arrests and searches. His objections were met with hostility, and he became increasingly isolated within the force. Arshak's disappearance remains unsolved, leaving his family to wonder what really happened to him. His mother remains determined to find out, saying, "I just want to know the truth, whatever it is." This is the last picture of 7-year-old Mousa Walaa, taken by his teacher in the middle of a scorching summer, with temperatures reaching 113 degrees Fahrenheit or more. While the other children wore light, breathable clothing, poor Mousa was dressed in warm clothes. He became sick from the heat during class, but explained to his teacher that he wasn't allowed to remove any of his clothing. Alarmed by his condition, bruises, and clothing, the teacher reported the situation to the police, sharing this photo as evidence. Sadly, the police dismissed the concerns and sent Mousa back home. Not long after this picture was taken, he was found dead in his home on July 20th, 2023, after being tortured and murdered by his stepmother, Athra al-Janabi. The teacher's photo of Mousa wasn't the first time police had been alerted about his abuse. On May 20th, 2023, after being tortured by burning by the stepmother, Mousa managed to escape to a nearby restaurant, where bystanders filmed a video of him recounting his ordeal. In the video, Mousa can be heard saying, "My father left me on the road and told me not to return." When asked about the bruises on his body, Mousa said his stepmother was responsible. Mousa also expressed his love for his teacher, Marwa, and mentioned that his stepmother had hit him on the head. He also indicated that he didn't know where his mother was. He expressed his wish to sleep because he was tired and said he didn't want to return home. The restaurant owner alerted the Al-Shala police. However, the police only made the father and stepmother sign a pledge not to harm Mousa again, warning them of legal consequences, and Mousa was sent back to the toxic home again. The horrific crime took place in the Al-Khatib area, near the city of Al-Shala in Baghdad. The family of Mousa's father filed a lawsuit against al-Janabi. According to authorities, the stepmother attempted to escape from the police but was arrested and confessed to torturing Mousa. It was reported that al-Janabi did not suffer from any psychological or mental illness. Mousa's brother Ahmed, aged 11, said in an interview that the abuse and beatings began on October 1st, 2022. He added, "I gave in to the beatings, but my brother Mousa kept pleading to return to our mother, which made his punishment and abuse even worse." Ahmed recounted that his brother was often beaten with kitchen utensils. Mousa and his brother had been living with their father and stepmother following their parents' divorce. Mousa's father, who works in a security service, divorced Mousa's mother in 2016 when Mousa was only 6 months old and remarried in 2018. According to Ahmed, the day before Mousa's death, an incident occurred in the kitchen. He said that Al-Janabi grabbed a container of salt and put some into Mousa's eye, causing it to burn. She then took more salt and placed it in Mousa's mouth. Ahmed stated that Al-Janabi told Mousa, "If you vomit, eat it again." Despite being in severe pain, Mousa obeyed, holding out his hands. Al-Janabi then grabbed Mousa's hand, lifted him, and put his hands on the stove. Mousa started screaming, but that wasn't enough. Al-Janabi proceeded to stab Mousa with a sharp object in different parts of his body. Over time, Mousa showed signs of severe exhaustion and eventually collapsed. She dragged him to his sleeping area. According to Ahmed, Mousa vomited and bled from various parts of his body throughout the night. Ahmed tried to give him water and food, but Mousa gradually lost his strength. At 5 a.m., Al-Janabi dragged Mousa from his bedroom to another spot. Ahmed observed his brother's breathing until it stopped completely around 9 a.m. Medical sources suggested that the likely cause of death was heart failure due to excessive salt intake and severe dehydration. She acted like everything was normal. She passed by him, cooked lunch, and carried on as if nothing happened. "It's heartbreaking," Ahmed said. "She made lunch like normal, and the kids were playing as if nothing happened." Mousa's father recounted that his wife called him while he was at work, claiming Mousa was ill from eating salt. Unable to comprehend her explanation, he urged her to take Mousa to the hospital, but she refused. He had to leave work and rush home. Ahmed said, "The stepmother, sir, was sitting on the stairs. When my father came, he didn't even seen Mousa yet. She said coldly, 'Just bury him.' What else can you do? Just bury him." When he came and saw his son being eaten by maggots, she still said coldly, "He's faking it, right?" She didn't shed a single tear, not one tear. The interviewer asked Ahmed why this happened. Ahmed said, "It was over something so small, a simple annoyance. We were just kids. Others could eat, but not us. She lived with the other 2 children, but she treated them differently than us." Ahmed also accused their father of lying and covering up the abusive treatment inflicted by their stepmother on both him and Mousa. According to him, their father feigned tears in front of the cameras after the crime was exposed. He explained that their father had seen the marks of torture on their bodies, but chose to ignore them, and at times, even beat them as well. During the investigation, Al-Janabi confessed to having beaten Mousa many times. In one incident, she pushed him against a window, shattering the glass. "I struck him so many times that I lost count. Despite his pleas, calling me Mama, I forcibly shoved him, causing him to crash into a glass window which shattered from the impact." Al-Janabi was only sentenced to 15 years in prison. Netizens considered the punishment she received to be unfair and disproportionate to the horrific crime she committed. On May 25, 2015, Jessica Heppner arrived at St. John's International Airport in Newfoundland, located in the most easterly province of Canada. She had flown from Halifax International Airport, but her reasons for visiting St. John's remains unknown. Jessica was known to be a frequent traveler, both domestically and internationally. From St. John's International Airport, Jessica took a taxi to the Sheraton Hotel in the downtown area, where she had reserved a room for one night. The reason Jessica was in St. John's for such a short period remains under active investigation, according to the Royal Newfoundland Constabulary, RNC. Hotel employees reported that Jessica extended her stay by one night, but never returned on May 26, 2015, after getting into a taxi to meet a friend in the Topsail Road area of Paradise. The taxi driver recalled taking her to Topsail Road to meet a man. The man has been interviewed by police but is not considered a suspect. It is believed that Jessica may have been involved in the sex trade, though whether that played a role in her travels to St. John's is unknown. On May 29, 2015, 4 days after Jessica arrived in St. John's, a call came into the Royal Newfoundland Constabulary's Communications Center. A man named Norbert Kaza claimed he had been traveling with Jessica, who was 21 years old at the time. Kaza reported that while he had returned to Ontario as planned, Jessica had not. Kaza advised us, this was a phone call, not face-to-face, that he was in Ontario and on his way to British Columbia to catch a flight to Dubai, said RNC Inspector Tom Warren, who investigated the case. Kaza provided details about when and where Jessica went, giving police enough information to piece together what she did during what was meant to be a short stay. However, police were unable to locate Kaza to ask him follow-up questions. After Jessica was reported missing, the RNC's missing persons team searched her hotel room at the Sheraton and discovered that she had left without her belongings. They found 2 suitcases and a laptop containing her personal belongings. One suitcase was neatly packed, while the other appeared hastily repacked, as if someone had thrown items in carelessly. Her IDs and laptop were left behind, along with emails on her computer. Unfortunately, nothing on her laptop provided any clues about her whereabouts. To the best of their knowledge, Jessica had planned to take a taxi back to her hotel room. She never returned for her belongings, and there are no flight records indicating that she left the island. Police also learned that Jessica had been using at least 2 prepaid cell phones, registered under a fictitious name and address, and neither phone could be traced back to her. About a week after she was reported missing, one of the phones was activated again, this time in Ontario. The mystery grew even more puzzling as new details came to light. Flight records showed no evidence that Jessica had left the island. However, police uncovered information suggesting that Jessica may have traveled to Germany before arriving in Newfoundland. Adding to the intrigue, one of her prepaid credit cards was used for a transaction in Germany in July 2015, months after she went missing. Police searched Jessica's travel companion, Norbert Kaza, and discovered that he had been living in Ontario since 2015, but is originally from Poland. During the investigation, they received a tip that Kaza had been in Surrey, a county bordering London. In an effort to contact Kaza, the Royal Newfoundland Constabulary spoke to his former roommate in Surrey. The roommate told police that Kaza had denied ever knowing a woman named Jessica Heppner. Despite extensive searching, Jessica's family, who stated that she always kept in touch, received no word from her. She was one of 4 sisters, and no matter where she was, she stayed in contact through Skype or online, according to her family members. Police also confirmed that Jessica has not made contact with them since her disappearance. Jessica's disappearance remains unsolved to this day, leaving both her family and investigators without answers. In the early morning of October 8, 2021, in a community in Haizhou District, Guangzhou, China, a man named Chen was informed by his wife that the battery of their electric bike appeared to be overheating. Concerned about the issue, Chen decided to take the battery outside to cool down. Chen was captured on security footage entering an elevator in his building while carrying the battery. He pressed the button to go down, but tragically, the battery began smoking and suddenly burst into flames after he entered the elevator. The confined space quickly became engulfed in fire, leaving Chen severely burned. 2 people waiting for the elevator discovered Chen's charred body when the elevator doors opened. They immediately ran to get help. Emergency services arrived promptly, extinguished the fire, and pulled Chen out of the elevator by his arm. Chen was rushed to the hospital with severe injuries, including extensive burns, acute inhalation injuries, acute kidney damage, and burns to his left eye. Despite receiving medical treatment, Chen passed away at home on November 3, 2021, due to acute myocardial infarction. 3 years after the tragic incident, footage of Chen's ordeal resurfaced in local media as a warning about the proper handling and disposal of lithium batteries. Experts interviewed by Chinese media emphasized the significant risks associated with lithium batteries, which can explode if not properly housed, maintained, or disposed of. They recommended that all safety guidelines be followed closely when handling lithium-based batteries. In response to multiple incidents involving battery explosions, Shanghai authorities implemented regulations prohibiting the storage of e-bike batteries indoors and banning commercial activities related to assembling, modifying, or adding components to e-bikes. These measures were enacted to mitigate the risks posed by overheating and modifications. Experts explained that overcharging or modifying batteries can bypass built-in safety mechanisms, potentially leading to thermal runaway. This dangerous process results in excessive heat, the release of flammable gases, and, in extreme cases, explosions. Lithium-ion batteries are particularly susceptible to thermal runaway, a condition where excessive heat generates a feedback loop, causing the battery to overheat further and increasing the risk of catastrophic failure.